So regardless of which trust we use, we prepare a package. So with the Revocable Living Trust, we would include all these other documents that we've talked about here today, financial, medical power of attorney. What's the good thing about the Revocable Trust? Remember, quick review here, any trust avoids probate. We can minimize estate taxes if that's an issue for you. That's less of an issue now for most folks, but it still may be an issue. We can delay distributions. Remember we talked earlier about the guy who said, I want my kids to be 60. You're probably not going to choose 60. Maybe you are, I don't know. But many people choose, 21, 25, 30. I want to pay for someone's education. Maybe we're going to split it into 3. They're going to get a third when they're 25, a third when they're 30, etc. The trust gives us all these different options. The will, basically, they get the money or they don't. The trust gives us a lot more flexibility, prevents the blowout, just spending all the money. Asset protection for the kids, if we have disabled or minor beneficiaries, we can protect them as well. Okay, so the asset protection trust, that includes all those things we talked about. What we say is that has all the advantages of the Revocable Trust plus asset protection. So protection from creditors, from lawsuits if you get sued, and most importantly, remember we're pre-planning now, so assuming we have this trust set up, 5 years has gone by, then we have protection from Medicaid, so the nursing home cannot get into the trust. Okay, and then the last one is the IRA Inheritance Trust, which you may or may not need. But if that is useful, the IRA, and folks don't realize something called the Rule of 72. And basically what folks see in retirement is even though they're required by law to take money out of their IRAs, they often see their IRA, even though they're taking money out of it, still continue to grow. And that's the Rule of 72. Basically what that says is if your money is invested somewhere, if it's making 6%, it's going to double every 12 years. So that's how money in an IRA continues to grow tax-free, or I should say tax-deferred, inside of the IRA. And again, with that trust, you can add creditor protection, divorce protection, etc. Because of the way the economy is now, I meet folks in their 70s, even in their 80s. They worked 30 or 40 years for the same company. They've got a great 401k, they've got a great retirement plan, they've got all this retirement income coming in. How many people do you think I see in their 20s and 30s that have that? Very few, if any. How many companies offer a decent retirement plan anymore? Very few. How many people even stay with the same company anymore for 20 or 30 years? Very few. So we encourage you and your kids to take your IRA seriously, because that IRA could be the only income they have in their retirement because of the way that the economy is now, the way that companies are structured. Okay, so the best way, as we say, best way to protect yourself, care for a loved one, is to develop this long-term asset protection plan. It may well include an asset protection trust. This is it in all its glory. We like to use, as you see, we like to use little illustrations. Of course, the way that this is really done is this is done with legal language. That's what gives it the asset protection. But the best way to understand the concept is we're going to take this box here, we're going to put a combination lock on it. And what that legal language says is you, your co-trustee, your family, they're the ones that have the combination to the lock. Your creditors, the nursing home, those other people, they don't have that combination. We do that with legal language so they cannot get into the trust. All right, as we've talked about, all trusts are not the same. The closed box, the asset protection trust, that's the only one that's going to protect you now while you're alive. These two bottom bullets here, these are questions that we usually get when we talk about the trust. Do I still maintain control? Yes, you do. Because as we talked about earlier, you're the trustee, you're the manager of the trust. So because you're trustee, let's say Mr. Smith, he sets up a trust. He has a CD out here with Bank of America. So he now, as trustee of the trust, he calls Bank of America, says, I would like this CD now to be retitled into the name of my asset protection trust. That's a very important step. It's simple, but it's a very important step that that CD is now owned by his trust, because that's how he gets protection. The CD, if he wants it to, the CD can still stay with Bank of America, but we need to retitle it into the name of the trust. Fidelity, you know, Vanguard, wherever it may be that you have your money. And then, of course, you decide, just like with the will, with the trust, you decide where your assets go after you pass on. And I cannot stress this enough, that second bullet there. It's a simple retitling of your assets, but it's a very important one. Because the first step, just creating the trust, it's just an empty shell. It does nothing until we put the accounts, until we put the money in there. It's that second step, it's that retitling that gives you protection of your money. And then it's very useful for subsequent marriages, what we call blended families. If both spouses have different, have children from a previous marriage, this trust makes it a lot easier to plan for all of them.